in that by saying Nova did actually beat We're Eternal last week, so I'd say they're pressured to get a much better result here.
You'd certainly think so. It is going to be Nova on the defense first. This is something that they've played to pretty good effect in the past. It is going to be a Doomfist and a Sombra, but Xavier pulling out the same goats with Maytech.
So here's the thing, OYO is actually going to play the Brigadier here, which is going to be very important because technically they kind of only have one healer.
Yeah, Xavier do dive to the point. Unfortunately, they don't make it without losing THK, but trading one back, not so much fun anymore. Starting to fall apart here a bit for Xavier. Despite the quick move onto the point and I would say getting away with it, not getting completely disrupted by the Sombra and Doomfist, eventually the Sombra Doomfist wins out.
There's a potential here that Xavier actually do change. If they want to change, now would be the time, because this is where you don't give away too much. Otherwise, if you play another fight here, you've now charged too many ultimates and suddenly things get a little bit more difficult. For Nova though, you could see here, they just pressure Xavier's rotation. Xavier just want to get straight to the point. Nova's like, okay, we're going to do a bunch of damage here. Pick up a member while you do that.
There is still a bit of a window for Xavier, just barely before that EMP is a factor. But once that EMP is a factor, things start to look very dire for Xavier.
I feel like I think they may be looking to approach with the Mabel here onto high ground. Yes, and it is definitely the case.
Oh, a couple of them miss, and it also got spotted out by Blue, who was actually invisible off to the side there. So they still lose members in the rotation there. I don't want to say botched because it's a hard move to pull off, but at the very least it doesn't pay off.
It was definitely not botched because Nova Esports detected it and then counterplayed it with their Diva Craziest, knocking all of them back as they attempt to move through. And that's the risk you take because it takes so long to set yourself up there. If you're Nova Esports, you've got a keen eye, you see what's going on, you just counter it out straight away.
And now EMP is a factor. There it goes, rakes across the team, the Doomfist straight in, picks to the corn, and with that nano boost, he is a nigh unstoppable 1-2 punching machine. Slams down Queen, Tay takes a dive, Patapan to follow, and I think Olivier, yeah, he's going to take a dive too.
And after 2 fight wins in a row for Nova Esports and 2 minutes disappeared for Xavier, suddenly you can't change now. If you do change, you lose a bunch of ultimates, Patapan doesn't get to use Blizzard, and things just go from bad to worse. So Xavier have to commit, and if they lose again with this composition because they want to commit, and by the way, Blue is scouting early just to make sure everything is in order and to try and get some more EMP back in, Xavier in a tough spot.
Pepper some good shots onto Olivier, which also slows Xavier down. Meteor Strike a little bit
the setup.
Preemptive here. Gets him onto some high ground, which is going to be a something, but can't stay there forever. Finally actually commits right as the Doomfist is ready to go. Xavier, they do have the sound barrier running, get onto the point now, shut it down. Patapan hacked out, but still able to freeze up some men.
Oh, good sleep.
Corn got picked, and that sleep is legendary from Restia. One is low, may end up going down here. Oh, excellent time stun on Patapan. He's trying to retreat, but ice cubes himself off the wall, and that would have been a Blizzard available if it hadn't been for the beautiful timing from OYO there. So once again, Nova hold.
And it's actually Restia on the Ana player who actually got that sleep onto Patapan, but regardless, look, Xavier now in that zone. Less than 1 minute remaining. They've tried this main offense so many times now, and they still cannot give up this offense because they're way too deep into this. They're fully committed. They have the ultimates. Guess who doesn't care about ultimates? It's Blue. He's got an EMP, and he's ready to completely nullify you.
And there it is. It's only on top of Thetacorn, which is
it's
not
enough.
a big deal, but it's far from a problem at this rate when you consider how many kills one scoops up off the back of that. Xavier are reliant on a Grav Blizzard combo, and they've only got 30 seconds to pull it off.
At maximum here, the best they can do is go into B onto overtime, which really affects their ability to complete B as well. Some great scouting here by Blue, just checking out what the composition is, making sure everything's still as is. There's no secret movements around, no secret flanks or rotations. Nova now have the setup.
At least get themselves through this first bit of rotation. Not just going to try to charge down the middle this time. Try and play a bit of disruption. Meteor Strike comes out. They need to find a way into the point.
Blizzard's there.
Choose to not go straight into that Blizzard. Very smartly done. Now they're just kind of waiting this one out. That does give a third over to Xavier, but now that's run out. Nova can just commit back on. Uh-oh, Crazy Ass does not get back in the mech. Nova are actually out of options here. They're running on empty, and Xavier, they've just started to straight out frag. One, though, he is definitely not done in this fight. Finds one, needs to find a few more. Walled off for the time being. Nexus, he's in a bit of a tight spot. Good freeze, but he popped the Primal Rage just beforehand, and that keeps things
here comes the kills
for Xavier as one finds another. Now Thetacorn in trouble. One's 3 for 3 right now, and turning this fight around single-handedly. Well, you say single-handedly. There is some credit given to the rest of the team. team, but Crazy S re-entering now as well here. Nova are not out of this. The EMP comes in, but so many members dropped right as it connected, and that means nobody can follow up on it, save for the 2 on the point, and they've not been able to do it in time. Nova, they've stalled out to the overtime, but this only feels like a matter of time until the cap will come through for Xavier.
But look how desperate Xavier are. This is the first time where you actually see them get super desperate to take the point. They throw everything at that cap, all 4 of the original ultimates. Olivier builds up another grab, has to use it. Now they don't have resources to take B.
Now Xavier just trying to snowball here with what little they've got, and actually good catch here. Nova hadn't quite fully respawned. Meteor Strike is going to have to really pay dividends here. Puts one to some high ground, trying to wrap on, do some backliners. As Patapad, I don't believe that Blizzard connected there. Might have gotten scooped up by Defense Matrix, but they're still getting the kills up. One's got one back though. Blue, like you said, nearly on an EMP. This is still recoverable for Nova.
This is now the position for Xavier Esports. They have to look for the next ultimate.
Another
sleep. That's like 3 in a row.
I mean, when you go right up in front of the Ana, what do you expect here? The EMP went out. That's going to allow Queen to get finished off. And Nova, they seem to have weathered the storm for now. Xavier, they have committed. They're in for a penny, in for a pound. And the late grab here is decent. They might get a third, but you've got to consider they're still tanked. There's still a closer respawn. Hold on. There is not still tanks. And one down. It's totally paid off for Xavier. Crazy SD Max in a far from favorable position as Queen, despite dying early, has been able to re-enter.
And now you're in the sort of position, mines are still in there, over Esports, trying to just stall this one out. They're trying to buy as much time as possible.
Couldn't get back to the point despite all those defensive tools from the May, and now they're trickling back in. One will not find anything, has to take a dive, has to run, head for the hills, goes down anyway. Self-destruct has got to be killer, but I don't believe it will be. There's too many defensive tools, and with no one on the point, I can't believe Xavier just did that.
They didn't have the resources, just the sound barrier. The sound barrier gets them in the door. Note that it was used straight away just to make sure they weren't going to take too much damage getting on top of the point. That was a 1 minute 30 offense with only a sound barrier to enter onto B, and they still managed to execute despite Patapad getting slipped there. He didn't get cleaned up. There weren't enough counter trades. One, he had to use a Meteor Strike just to back out, regain positioning. It's very difficult for him to aggressively Meteor Strike in because it's very telegraphed. If someone like THK sees that, you drop down, you get instantly stunned. Instant stun means instant death as well. So for a team like Nova Esports, it just becomes quite difficult, and they had ultimates coming up, but they couldn't quite connect properly. They couldn't quite clean up the kills. If they just evenly traded, they actually would have won that fight, but they didn't get even trades. It was Xavier Esports coming out ahead on every single kill.
It's the thing that seems so mind-boggling. Xavier so consistently now are just out-fragging in these situations when they seem to sometimes even be at what is arguably a disadvantage or a deficit. I mean, 2.5 minutes in the time bank when they nearly didn't cap A. I mean, I think once again of Hollywood where they nearly didn't cap A and then still finished the map and held out against Nova.
And on the other side, I rethink of Hollywood because now you're starting to see Nova Esports putting themselves in fantastic positions to win, whether that is fully holding A, which again nearly happened, or burning enough time on the clock that they hold somewhere else onto the map. This is exactly how Hollywood happened, and exactly like Hollywood, Xavier are coming out ahead.
Now Nova getting that deja vu, getting that stage fright like what they got on the silver screen.
By the way, when Nova do not see any Xavier defenders, they should know something is up. And they do.
They've spotted this one out. This should be their opportunity. But unfortunately, Blue still got isolated there as Xavier actually flags the reset. Oh, great sleep on the Crazy S. I think that might just be a D-Mech. No, he does get out alive from that one. Doesn't lose too much time.
It's worth it for that one kill and just slow down Nova Esports just a little bit. Good job by Nova Esports to smell that one out. Like I said, as soon as you don't see the defenders, you know something's happening. Another great sleep.
Get straight back up to it this time. Not as bad. They just go piling in down the middle, losing one in that rotation though, and sort of saw Nexus there. Like, where did everybody go? He's going to have to take a dive, surely.
And this is Xavier really pressing the issue here. They know that they need to be winning these fights very quickly, and they're just diving on top of Nova so efficiently. They're not wasting any time. A lot of teams here would just posture for a very long time. They're not doing that. They just want to start these fights. They just want to get the kills. They want to get that ultimate machine going, and it is going because Olivier is now sitting on grab.
I think Nexus should have actually taken a dive there straight away rather than trying to pressure the point for a couple of seconds. I see that he was trying to alleviate pressure for the rest of his team, but the rest of his team was safe, and actually they just spent more time waiting for a respawn.
Now you're waiting to see this grab come through. It does.
Only up to Nexus, but will happily take the numbers advantage. the small one. Oh, nice stun. That is a high charge Zarya, though. So the moment the stun wears out, one's going to find himself done for. Xavier just looking very comfortable on the defense.
To be honest there, Nova Esports could have backed out with only losing Nexus, but Xavier just routing them through. And if they only lost Nexus, that's a worthwhile trade. One death for a full Graviton Surge, you'll take that. But for Nova Esports, they still need to build some more ultimates of their own because Xavier are sitting on 4.
It's absurd. Valley is the first ultimate Nova have had all game. Finally pops it out. Oyo got his Transcendence up, rather. Wasn't even able to use it. Xavier, I mean, this is so expected at this point when you got this kind of advantage, but the fact that Nova are this far behind is mind-boggling.
This is the part where you see this composition, you think, well, it's against the Winston, you just pop the bubble and that's a free shatter. One's actually going to go on to the Doomfist here, which, if they want to get aggressive, which if you are running a Winston, you do, this should be pretty good out of Nova because ultimates are starting to run out for Xavier now.
They're starting to come up for Nova at long last. It's going to be the Transcendence to try and get them into the fight, but they've got to give space to Queen with that Nano Boost running. Terra just doing so much damage on the front line. Already got another Shatter available. They finish off these tanks, and one's not even able to get any work done. So once again, cheap fights for Xavier, and suddenly they're not even at a disadvantage anymore.
And it's just that big wall being placed up by Queen. He received the Nano Boost, which does, you know, gives him that extra damage, which allows him to get that Earth Shatter back up online. And for Nova Esports, it's 3 ultimates, nearly the Graviton Surge. But as Blue gets his, guess what? Olivier has one too.
That hammer hitbox is so wide. Are you going to try and walk through that just to get through that choke point? I think not. Earth Shatter to catch the mem is not immediate on the rotation, but not enough follow-up, and they've been able to find out Thetacorn at long last. It looks like Nova have a leg up in this fight. A little bit lean on time. Blue stuck in a grab as well. Will go down. So 1 for 1 thus far. No, 1.5 for 1. Crazy yes out of the mech, and one has yet to make much more done with this Doomfist. Didn't get anything from the Meteor Strike, and instead Nova actually signal a retreat with only 30 seconds left.
And a season ago, I said that Xavier were the perfect GOATS team because their ability to engage, find these fights, and press the trigger is so good. Their decision-making on point, and right now that is exactly what they are showing. They don't have anything else, but look at the time, 15 seconds. Nova don't have any of that.
That's the thing, Nova have ults, but God, I don't even know if they're actually favored coming in here. Not when Queen gets kills like that. And Xavier, once again, with absolutely nothing to go on, just out-frag, out-execute, out-maneuver, out-engage. This is an excellent GOATS team, and it is showing. The thing that Nova could not do, the full hold on A. Xavier, they will complete it. They will show Nova how it's done. With that, they have sealed the deal on the series. Now it's a question of whether they'll take it to a full 4-0.
And that is a very disappointing way for Nova to end. It's not technically over because there is a map 4, but in terms of the match result, look, that's a win for Xavier now officially into the book. That's a loss for Nova now officially written into their book as well. And it's a big loss because when you look at the individual maps, especially I want to highlight Hanamura there because that's what we just saw, it wasn't even a Nova Esports that really got a tick onto A. They didn't get a single tick on A. They couldn't even touch B. They just were caught in that choke and basically in spawn for basically the entire game. Just no chance. It looks like they just didn't get to play the game whatsoever. And now you have to look at the fact that for Nova, even if they did hold A, that was a much better hold by Xavier. If Xavier, and they did get some progress onto A, it doesn't matter if they got held there because, I mean, Nova got no progress. It would have just been a better hold by Xavier.
And that's the thing. We've got to come down to this, right? Nova's defenses are good, but unfortunately they are not quite good enough because that's now the second time we've seen them set up a really excellent defense, put themselves in a winnable position, and then not actually win from there. On the other side of that, you've got Xavier. Not only is their offense far better, they're now showing that their defense in that same situation is better. That's why they're the team that just won.
And I want to say their ability to execute and just play the fight, just go into the brawl, initiate the brawl. Just, I mean, it's a little bit, it's not as simple as that, but their ability to find...
play Overwatch.
It's hard to click heads as Reinhardt, but... but what I want to say is, and also Zarya doesn't do any headshot damage, but what I want to say, and neither does Anna, but what I want to say here
and
is...
who else? Brigida doesn't?
So actually you don't, there's not a lot of, very little head clicking.
Does headshot, but the rest of it, the playing Overwatch part...
What I'm trying to say is decision-making as a 3-3 GOATS team to find the right engages, to get into the enemy phase, to know how to take those fights. It's something Xavier doing so well. When you look at that B offense, you have basically... Well, you actually have 4 minutes, but you lost half the time on the map already. 4 minutes. Most teams don't cap out. We've seen plenty of teams fail to cap in 6 minutes, 7 minutes.
Especially on Hanamura.
Especially on Hanamura. they did it in 1 minute 30 after having one ult to work with, and that just comes down to pure execution on engages. We saw that again on what is expected, a winning fight from Nova to cap onto A, to push onto A. I mean, Xavier had nothing. They had 0 ults this time. You can't even say, oh, you know, they're just snowballing ults. They had nothing. They had no ults.
And Nova had 3.
They just walked on top of you, found the incorrect engage, and took you down. So, I mean, it's a very different kind of defense to what we saw Nova bring out, which is to say they had an EMP-centric defense based on disruption with the Doomfist as well. There's a lot of more intricate pieces to play. It's just like, okay, these things have to happen, and this has to happen here exactly like this. For Xavier, it's like, no, we just got to find the right fight, get into the brawl, win the brawl, that's it.
And this is now a really interesting situation for Xavier. I've got to say, this is a team that right now, in every single situation, they know exactly what could win them that fight, and they execute as though they are going to win the fight based off that. And more often than not, they actually are, even when on paper they're at a disadvantage. They're identifying and playing to their win conditions far better than their opponents right now, at least the ones they've faced so far. And I mean, that in itself is just such a strength. There are a lot of teams who do recognize the deficit. They play a little bit safer. They don't go all in on particular win conditions, but Xavier having the confidence to do that is really paying off for them because they are good enough to follow up on it. And actually at this point, I've got to say, Xavier kind of feel like the strongest team in this group, at least based on the progression since week 1. And this is an absolutely stellar result so far.
And now as we head into Dorado here, this is still an opportunity for Nova to come back. Let's be quite frank about that. But at the same time, I'm half ahead just in a space where I'm thinking this should be a 4-0. I would be somewhat disappointed. I know Xavier would be disappointed if it wasn't a 4-0 at this point, seeing how great the last 3 maps went. And if I was telling Esports waiting in week 5 right now, watching this, I would be very worried about this team, especially because across both groups, I'm going to be very honest in saying Xavier, to me, look like they have the best 3-3. They have the best goats, and it just comes down to, once again, decision-making, fast decision-making. That's how you got to do it. You got to be quick. And so many teams, too patient, posture for too long. And it's not even just like, oh, you just go all the time. It's like you can do that, and you can still lose because you pick poor timing. But Xavier, not only are they able to be quick, but the decisions are accurate.
And you know what? Unlike some other teams in this tournament as well, they can do far more than just play a great game. They still have
as if it wasn't enough.
Yeah, one of, if not the best current DPS lineups in the tournament right now with insane flexibility. And that's to say nothing of the flexibility of the tank players as well. I mean, this is just an incredibly strong-looking team. And when you consider their first entrance into PAC in Season 1, look, they look decent. But they were only at that point the second best Thai team, and the best Thai team wasn't even the best team in the tournament. This team has come so far, and they look in excellent form now. If they 4-0 Xavier, Nova here rather, that will be the best result in the closest matchup so far this season.
And they no longer just look like the best Thai team, they might just look like the best team. We head in now for the final match of the series. It's going to be the defense initially coming out from Nova Esports. Going to go for a bit of an opening gambit here. Very aggressive plays from them. I wonder if Xavier Esports are going to be able to see this one through.
Could actually end up with a Widow duel here, interestingly enough, because Blue has opted into it fully on the defense. Patapan scutting out with it on the offense.
There we go, there's the flank.
Yeah, Nova have taken a 3rd ounce of pain here. Actually, they do find Tay, though, thanks to Oyo. Did a corn that leaves, Xavier are just lacking in the supports now. Unless Patapan gets a massive string of kills, which he does actually find one on Blue. Xavier have the closer respawn as well, so they're in an okay spot here.
I was going to say, Patapan needs to find something here because any spawn kills that he does get is going to turn into a player advantage. Now, as Xavier get the respawns, they're already at their spawn. Nova, they have a long run back distance.
And that's the saving grace here for Xavier. That's actually only about 45 seconds lost for that early bit. What it does give Nova, though, is some extra ultimate charge.
It certainly does. Patapan's definitely keeping up with Blue at this rate, in fact, overtaking him. This cart push through the archway is free, and that's usually a very difficult place to push. Nova, they have to get a stop up.
Some point at least, Patapan pops the first in sight. Just slightly leading blue on that one, and now he has tabs on where his opponent Widow is. Nexus getting dropped as well. Removes a lot of the frontline pressure that Nova can bring to bear.
It's another early kill from Oyo, though. He's been really finding these specs very effectively. Xavier might look to back out here. They probably do.
Yeah, that's a long wraparound from Queen, and actually going 1-for-1 of the Zenyatta's with Queen re-engaging from the backside. They've decided to stay in, and I kind of agree with this. Patapan is slowly but surely chipping away at these members. Unfortunately, they're not getting enough of a critical mass of kills.
This is the thing. Every single kill that Patapan does gets traded out back again by Nova. The only thing they can really rely on here is they are slightly ahead in ultimates, which is going to affect how these next couple of fights go. 2 minutes already just about gone here, and for Xavier Esports, this has already been a pretty big stop-up.
This is taking a decent bit of time, that's the thing. Like you said, THK finds one though, that's a good opener, and this is where they lean into those ultimates. Nice headshot onto blue, Patapan finding a nice angle there. And now he's got the backside of the fight, finds Nexus in the air as well. And he's able to just kind of set up crossfire there off the back of this. Xavier, hoist to cap.
Good movements there by Xavier. As soon as he takes down blue, he knows he's just safe to snipe everybody else. And spawn kills potentially as well. Blue just takes one straight to the dome.
That was rough. Look at how much damage that did to blue. It's a shame you can't get a second shot off quick enough in that space. Look at how far forward Patapan is able to play. He's got the backing of his tanks as well for this.
And look at this position. He's going to wrap around this right side, which is going to open up a flank. If Nova go faster, Patapan's actually going to be out of position, but he does see it with the infra sight.
And that's the thing. They are able to do that. Olivier moves forward with the self-destruct to create some space. Stops Nova from getting too over-aggressive. And with Crazy Ass a little low on the mech, they're actually
card's not moving.
Not press the go button. As now Nova start to pop the ultimates, but they're not proactively popping them, unfortunately. They're actually having to use it reactively, and Xavier, they did at least get back onto the payload for a moment here.
I'm not a big fan of that fight by Xavier. They should have played the card instead, because now even if they win this, and they're definitely not winning it, because Tay actually went back for the card just to get it moving, and as it happens, they're at player disadvantage.
That one's with ultimate advantage for Nova, so despite having to pop them in a less than ideal situation, it does ultimately pay off for them, but Xavier still with plenty of time on the clock and a bit of a change up here.
Nova's not done.
This is very quick, very aggressive from Xavier to try and force the issue, but like you said, Nova's not done. They've still got ultimates, and off the back of that sound barrier, they found one, but now with Xavier's own sound barrier, they're starting to trade some back. Ditacorn drops though, and they haven't managed to get the kills that they were looking for in quick enough time, even with THK finding Oyo. Too much tunnel visioning on the supports. Patapan does get one, but he's not long for this world, I would say.
And he's about to get a tactical visor, and to be quite honest with you, he's going to be forced to change here. I'm not a big fan of the soldier pick here. I believe he used it just to try and get back into the action a bit quicker. If he does stay on, it's because he wants to use the visor, but at this sort of point, oh man, it's actually very 50-50. I was going to give that one over to Nova, but then Xavier started to bring a few back around. Despite all of that, though, Nova, to me, are the bigger winners. If you look at the ults, if you look at the cart positioning, Nova played a lot of time off, they stopped a lot of movement, and they charged nearly all their ults.
That's why I like Nova backing off there, because now they set up for a far better defensive position. Nice angle from Patapan, though, to find a wraparound, but doesn't get enough. Thanks to that transcendence out of Oyo and an instant reaction from the rest of Nova. And with that, Xavier have nothing left to go on here. They're very much up creep without a paddle. Ditacorn popping the transcendence is maybe a bit too late here as blue commits a graviton surge onto the remaining members of Xavier, who just kind of copping a tough loss there.
Patapan was never going to get good results there. Like, it's a decent flank, but it's so easy to react to. It's not like he was on high ground or anything. It's part of the reason why I don't like the soldier pick, and he stayed on because he had the visor available. But to be honest, how valuable is the visor really? He didn't do anything with it. He should have just changed it to Zarya straight away. Xavier now have lost so much time. It's not even funny. 1 minute 20 remaining. It's really bad.
And now Nova just rotating into some great defensive ultimates once again. Look at that. Sound barrier early as Xavier went very deep, and they end up punished for that dive as the rest of Nova, with plenty of damage still to bring to bear, just picking up the members of Xavier that weren't able to go in for the dive. The likes of Queen and Co.
Yeah, it certainly is. And now Nova Esports, they probably can win this without using too many ults. Nyx is super disciplined, doesn't even use a primal rage, and they're going to get this cleanup.
This is absolutely disgusting. I mean, the fact that there were still members of Xavier who went far forward, hadn't got any kills, and also hadn't died, has actually just wasted them a lot of time.
And I don't think Xavier have had a good reset for about 2, maybe 2.5 minutes in a row now. This is probably the first big major reset. Okay, slow everything down again. We're playing a little bit too quick. I know we like to play quick here, but you just need to regroup here, reassess the situation, because time is now seriously not on your side. Less than 30 seconds to go, you got no ults.
And that's the reality. It's the no ults that will cost them here, because Nova, they've got
one now
too. Of a Christmas tree at this point. Well, it'll be 4-6 at best. One finds third corner already early in the fight, and suddenly Xavier, I mean, they've only got 10 seconds. The sound barrier does not save Queen unless this is a huge self-destruct. It's not looking great. Tay onto the payload to try and sneak a bit of progress, but Oyo is there to answer and do something about it.
This is done.
Finds Tay, and it is all over Rover, or indeed Nova. The Xavier now going to have to try and pull out a better defense than that.
And Nova finally do it. They finally get the map finish, defensively anyway, that they've been looking for 2 maps in a row, and I have a lot to say. Bear with me here in terms of the Xavier discipline, because they don't have good discipline. That's the fact of the matter is, even if you look at Hollywood, Palipan onto the Widow, deciding to take the free headshot onto a sleeping Diva instead of holding his angle, very poor discipline. That lost him an entire fight. That lost him the entire point. Here, decides to stick onto the Soldier, despite the fact that it's not a high value pick. The Visor does basically nothing. Another fact is, I mean, they go on to B, they don't play the objective first, they try and look for the frags, which is kind of how they were playing on Hanamura, except there's a difference there. On Hanamura, you just walk onto the cap and cap. On here, you have to actually play the cart. The cart positioning seriously dictates how you should be taking fights, and they did not get any push on. They had to go back for the cart, then they lost a member there. The fight goes super poorly, tries to come back on Soldier. The rest is history. It just goes so poorly for Xavier. And the plays are so good, and individually the execution is not bad, but the discipline is, unfortunately, based on this example, god-awful.
Playing a little bit too fast and loose there with Xavier, but this is still an incredibly good team, and I would dare say that there was the exception and not the rule. So, on the defense now, I still think it is very plausible that this is a team that can even full hold in the courtyard.
And this is now where, for a team that just one map ago looked like potentially the best team in this group and maybe the tournament, they're starting to bleed a little bit. They're starting to put themselves in a position where Nova probably do have a good opportunity to take this map now, but we're in that sort of space where we've said Nova before, set up a good win, but can they close this out? Now it's up to Xavier to, again, slow things back around, get a bit of that discipline in there, and for Nova Esports to actually look at this and say, is this a team that can 1 out of 4 maps here actually finish?
Yeah, come on now, Xavier. Don't make me look like an idiot for giving you such a sparkling compliment in that break between the games here. But, look, they're not done yet, let's be completely honest as well, and they could still pull out an exceptional defense. The opener does go the way of Nova, but oh, nice catch. Not anymore. Yeah, suddenly it starts to go bad for Nova. Xavier, if they get a little bit too aggressive, they could be punished. They're playing a bit more conservative.
And this is where Palipan's very difficult to challenge. You may actually see one change over to the Widow just to try and apply a bit more pressure. The good news is because Nexus is playing the Winston here, he can make some dives happen, but look at that. Barely gets out with his life.
Yeah, that was just, that one whizzed over his shoulder at the very end there. And he's still not actually back at full health as the rest of the team gets pressured. Another fire strike to find another support. Queen connecting these so consistently. Oh, disgusting headshot. And now just Fisher. But find another one on blue. 2 headshots in a row to secure the Zarya. Thank you very much.
Yep, and that's the highlight reel we've been waiting for. I told you he gets one every single match, and now a potential spawn camp. And this is where, so far, things are working out quite well. And for Nova Esports, starting to just, they need to look for some ults here. They're actually going to make a long flank around the backside to get on top. It's going to get spotted out quite easily by this infra site here. So for Xavier Esports, just quickly reposition, because Nova are going to approach from the side.
Palipan just looking to add a few more to that reel. Feels like it's only a matter of time with this guy. Now the team commits. Nexus already dropped as they make the rotation, the entry to the courtyard. Queen's just waiting, looking for an angle on the Earth Shadow. Will preserve it if he doesn't need to use it, because it keeps so much pressure on that Winston.
So here's where the 3-3 goats really works quite well for Xavier, because it's actually not even a 3-3 goats. It's technically, it's a solo DPS Widowmaker with the rest of the goats here. And what they're able to do is get these quick engages, which they normally do with the regular goats. And while that's happening, Palipan is completely unchallenged. If your Nexus and Crazy S, you can't actually contest him because he's too far away and you need to take the fight against the other tanks.
And it would be okay if you were winning the 6v5 on the ground, but unfortunately they are also not. Now they look to get aggressive with this Transcendence. There is the grab
really
finally committed. Yeah, Queen does get caught up in that. He could go down here. No, still has not, would you believe? That's so huge. And in the time it's taken Nova to focus all that fire into Queen for no result, their own tanks have now gotten dropped down.
And by the way, I do want to mention it's not a 6v5 at all unless Pattypan does not have an angle to work with. It's always a 6v6 if he can make shots happen, and this could be a kill. Not quite. The Discord orb was an Oyo as well. You could feel how tasty that one would have been. And now Xavier right now with 1 minute left to go. I think a little bit of good redemption here would be them completely holding A after what was a very unfortunate B offense for them. And they're looking on track to potentially get that one through right now, unless these supports on Nova can get high value out of these ults.
I mean, if this is what secures a 4-0 here, you'll take it no matter how, right? Now it is on Nova with that Transcendence to do something here.
Oh, yep.
Can you believe it?
I can.
Pattypan finds Crazy Yes, the wham bam, thank you ma'am. Lines up another bunch. Queen picking ones left, right, and center now. There's Nova 25 seconds left. That ultimate advantage rather, no longer a factor.
Yeah, certainly not, and Pattypan's having just I want to say maybe the freest game right now because, again, no one can challenge him. One at this stage, if he wanted to challenge, he should have swapped into Widowmaker a long time ago. And it's just not going to happen right now. Xavier need to make sure that they can defend this front line because for Nova right now, they can't get past Queen.
Olivier trying to find this one. There we go. Nice connect with that Graviton Surge. Not much follow-up, unfortunately. Now Blue answers with his own. They pick up a good number at long. Mighty Last Nova have found the kills that they have been sorely lacking this entire map so far. They may just cap in overtime, but I'll be honest, they are so far from being out of the woods yet. They still actually have to get that progress on B.
But the good news is they don't have to actually finish capping B. They just have to get to where they held Xavier Esports, which isn't too far away, all things considered. It's certainly a much better prospect than finishing the map. If you ask me if Nova are going to finish the map now, I'd say probably not, because they did get held into overtime for that A push. Nova, though, they need some ultimates. They still need to pressure Pattypan, but at least they've been winning fights. Well, they've now won at least one fight.
Now it's just Pattypan fishing for crits again. Blue finds Queen on the ground, fight.
It's a shoe.
Seems that Nova, all right, sure. Nova finally kind of hit their stride a bit with this ground fight with Ghosts.
By the way, Nova only need about 2 more fights here, maybe 1. Look at that finish line, it's right within their sights.
And unlike Xavier rather, Nova have actually kept the cart pushing.
Yep.
Xavier have yet to really stop it as it now kind of rounds the final bend.
And this is why playing for objective is so important in this game. If Pattypan doesn't connect shots right now, this is not going to be a defense.
Yeah, this Widowmaker suddenly grounds to a halt for Xavier, not getting the same value, and the ground game not going as strongly either. So, starting to get a little bit low here. Transcendence keeps everyone in it for a little bit longer, but where's the kills to come out? They have yet to find them, and now Nexus
Pattypan pressured.
Rotate into their ultimates. Pattypan kind of stuck on the ground now. Grapples away. He is going to be fine, but he's still
pressured again.
Shot, and this time he does with the grapple up. Primal Rage gets committed, and Nova meanwhile absolutely tearing Xavier to shreds on the ground, and I think that's it. Nova at the 11th hour have managed to redeem themselves. They will not get swept out. They will get the one back. You could argue it's on the back of some dodgy play from Xavier, but if you're Nova, you will gladly take it.
And that's the thing, because Nova possibly got the most deserved win of the entire 4-map series here. I mean, that's a bit of a stretch to say, because I think the other 3 were still very well deserved for Xavier, but it just comes down to the fact that Xavier are definitely not a perfect team. Not that I think either of us asserted they were, but they were starting to look like, you know, they had already become the sort of darling team.
They were starting to look like a force of nature.
Really just incredible players, looking absolutely unstoppable in this group and maybe this tournament. And Nova just proven, look, this is not a perfect team. They can bleed. There are a lot of very
there are no gods.
Punishable mistakes here. There's no Ardiant here anymore. I'm sorry. There's not going to be a team finishing with a perfect record. Detonator Korea weren't even perfect either. Blank challenged them this time around. If Xavier really want to fight for this, there's going to be things to look at here. There will be things to address, and Talent Esports are going to now be feeling much better about this series. Previously, the 3-0 Talent are getting a bit worried. Now looking at map 4, they're thinking, this is punishable. We can punish way harder than what Nova did. If Nova only just kind of still, I mean, they really crawled their way to the victory line for for that Dorado map, Talon Esports probably would have just shot straight there.
And here's an interesting thing that we've got to consider now. Look, Nova are in a bit of a dodgy spot in terms of qualifying into the playoffs, but it's still relatively likely that they'll make it, I dare say, unless things really suddenly start to shake up from the bottom of the standings. And the interesting thing about that is the top two teams in this group now, both Xavier and Talon, have actually lost maps to Nova. Talon significantly so. That was a very close series. So when we look in towards playoffs, it is a while away still, but when you're over on the other side of this, you know, you're in Group B and you're looking at this like, oh man, Xavier and Talon look really good. At the same time, if the third, maybe even fourth place team is still taking maps off them, they're actually still very fallible. I dare say there is no unequivocal tournament favorite right now.
Certainly not, and that's going to finish up things for match number 2. Very important victory for Nova Esports. They need to make sure they got at least one map in there just to give themselves a shot at continuing their run. But next up is going to be Talon Esports facing up against Grand Zer, and I can't wait to see what happens there. Talon have been waiting to play, and I can't wait to see them right after this break.